Without these foundational principles, your dynamic or relationship will not last long. Okay, so want to do a quick Q&A. So we run, as you can see, we run BDSM, Real Kinksters on Facebook.com. And you're more than welcome to join us. Just answer our questions. Agree to the group rules. And we have hundreds of articles. We have hundreds of, I don't know, I think Honey's probably done what, 100 articles, 200
I
articles
guess.
minimum. And I've probably done about the same. And then we have other people who are also highly skilled in the group. So the question from the group that was posted was, do you have a kink that you're afraid to share with your partner? Maybe this group can support you the next time, the next step. So I want to address this a little bit. Go ahead. You answer this first. What do you think?
Um, it concerned me actually for two reasons. One, if I have to go outside to talk about my kink and let other people help me for my kink, something in my dynamic must be entirely wrong. If I'm incapable to talk to my partner, no matter if it's a submissive or a dominant, the foundation is weak.
Right. Right.
Um, in a dynamic, you shouldn't be judged for whatever you are into it. You shouldn't be belittled or whatever. You should be able to talk to your partner. Hey, look, I'm into this or that, and talk actually about it, and not being afraid. Um, I don't know. It feels weird for me to talk to a group of strangers, no matter how skilled they are, but and not capable to talk to my partner, to my dominant, to my husband, wife, submissive, whatever, about the things I'm into or what I'm going through or whatever.
So I'll say, I mean, it's okay, and I want to clarify that it's okay to talk to a group of individuals and practitioners of lifestyle about what you're going through. That's okay. But the point I think you're making, honey, is that if you're afraid to share your kinks with your partner, there's an absolute issue with the foundation of your dynamic. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, you know, but I also think that's a one of the mistakes a lot of dominants and newer dominants make is they don't take the time to set that foundation. I mean, they're in such a hurry, let's get to the sex. Well, lifestyle's not about sex, despite what you might have read. I mean, Morrison was just an abusive person. I mean, but I don't want to get into that. I mean, but his teachings are just abusive. I mean, they're clearly abusive. Um, but unfortunately, a lot of people fall into that. But so the word that I latch onto is afraid, and you hit it right in the head. You know, you or anybody's partner, my partner, any dominant's partner, and a dominant themselves, just because you're a dominant, don't be afraid to open up to your submissive. Your submissive should be the one person you're opening up to about everything. And if you can't, you're in the wrong dynamic. You know,
Right.
I mean, so it is. That's the one thing a lot of our group members say is they love the fact that we're non-judgmental. That we don't judge people, and because that's the lifestyle. The lifestyle is about that self-acceptance. And
Right.
and
Sometimes not easy not to be not judgmental.
yes, yes. Um, but it is definitely important, you know, because if you can't accept yourself and say, hey, look, this is what I like, and then be able to share that openly, with open communication, honestly, and trust your partner is not going to judge you. You're in the wrong dynamic.
I
Um,
agree.
you know what I mean? So, to our audience, I'll say this: we want to hear from you. We want your questions. We answer how many emails and messages and whatnot do you probably answer, a week?
A
Yeah,
lot, a
yeah.
lot.
And a lot of these questions are very common. So we want to hear from you. We want your comments. We want your questions. And we want these because there's other people who are going through the same stuff. And you never know. Your question could prompt us to not only help you, but to help hundreds of other people. So we want your questions. If you can't fit your question into a TikTok or to a comment, or if you want to keep your being anonymous, but you have a question for us, there's Facebook. You can send us a message, um, through Facebook, and I mean, and we'll do our best to kind of get back to these questions because we get a lot of them all the time. But understand, we will not be reading the questions we've already had. We will not be answering those questions because we don't have those people's permission. We don't have their consent to share this information. If you send us a message that you would like us to address, understand you're giving us that consent to read it on our videos and to address that subject or that issue for you on our videos. Um, I mean, the lifestyle is still kind of a secretive community. So, um, but I don't know. I've gotten a lot of questions over the years, but again, I can't really address those because I don't have that person's permission.
Yeah, we can keep it private, just pointing out the questions that's possible without using names. So
Maybe
that's
we'll
possible.
we'll name people by just like the first letter of their name. Oh,
No, I wouldn't do that as long as they don't give the permission to do so.
right, right. Well, yeah, okay. Either way, I mean, one of the biggest reasons why I want to do this for us is not only for us, but just the community as a whole, is I repeat myself. You repeat yourself so many times, the same exact question from so many people. And it's just kind of shaped a little bit different. It's like, here's just an example. My dominant said that I couldn't have a safe word or I couldn't tell them no. Hey, don't tell me no, but remember that you're poorly educated if your dominant is not telling you or I mean everybody does kink differently, so there's no one true way. But for Honey, she doesn't have a speech protocol, but those who have a speech protocol, questions are always allowed because our job as a dominant is to educate you. But we answer those kinds of questions all the time. Um, I mean, I get questions all the time. How should I be a dominant? How can I go about learning how to be a dominant? Time. What I mean? I mean, just those kinds of questions.
I have already so many prepared answers to the most common questions, so um, I just copy and paste
Yep. Yep.
because it's kind of always the same, and just ask maybe in a different way, but the topic is always the same. It's unreal how many uneducated people are in the lifestyle and how many people actually doing BDSM, kink, however you want to call it, without having the slightest clue about it,
Right.
and
Um,
then wondering when everything goes wrong.
well, then they're wondering, why am I tied up in a basement being gangbanged?
Kind of like that.
Yeah. Maybe because you didn't vet, maybe because you didn't take the time to educate yourself, you know. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I have the same issue. Or lately I get a lot of, will you train me? Will you train me? Will you teach me? No, no, I will not. Honey is the last student I will ever have. If she chooses to take on a student, that's fine. But I will have no other students. Other than this, I mean, I'm not going to educate any further than this.
Yeah, but it's not the point is not that people come to you and say, "Can you teach me? Can you educate me?" That's not even the point. I'm a little tired of that because the lack of interest. They want me to serve everything on a silver plate, and they don't do the work for it. I mean, yeah, I can teach you, but if you're not willing to educate yourself, finding something on your own, I mean, then you have my opinion, you have my teaching. That's fine, but it doesn't makes you.
But and what I found is there was this person we were mentoring, and we I'm not going to tell you her name, but we were mentoring her, and that was one of the biggest issues was, you know, and then there was the she was under the impression that we were her dominant. You know, what? No.
Yeah.
But she also didn't want to read articles. She didn't want to ask questions. She didn't want to, it was just simply tell me what to do. And that's not what a mentor does.
And
Uh,
that's not how the lifestyle works at all.
right. Right. But I mean, that goes right back to a lot of people, especially dominants, afraid to ask questions. In the dominant community, and I know a lot of people say there is no dominant community. There is a dominant community, and there's a submissive community. Whether you're a slave or a submissive, you're still a submissive, just a higher form. But so there's a slave in it, there's a submissive in a dominant community. In the dominant community, it is we are expected to have all of the answers. So because of that, there's a lot of dominants that feel ashamed to ask questions or to say, as you said on the other video, to admit when they don't know something.
Yeah, and that's because of the new press
Yeah, yeah,
telling them, hey, if you don't know that, you're not dominant.
yeah. You're not a real dominant. Well,
Yeah, oh, I like this term very much. Real dominant, yes.
so tell me what a real submissive is, and I'll tell you what a real dominant is. Uh, yeah, but I mean, there's in the dominant community, and then in the dominant community, we just had this crap show on Facebook. I'm not going to get into details about that, but that was a crap show. Where you get these people who they will stand up and they will preach, on a pedestal of how much better they are than everybody else, how they don't break the pillars, how they always stick to the guidelines, how they, you know, um, and then behind everyone's back or behind your back, they run their mouth, and they talk bad about you. Well, guess what? That is a violation of the pillars. If you can't say something to somebody's face, don't say it. That's a fact. That's respect. That's not confrontational. That's respect. That's communication. If you can't say, this is in the dominant community, if you can't say something to another dominant or just another individual, that's a lack of communication skills, you know. But hey, what do I know? I'm just an old redneck hillbilly, you know. Yeah. But it's there's a lot of different aspects of the lifestyle that there's a lot to teach and there's a lot to really put out there. And that's why I'm glad we're trying these longer videos because some of these topics are very, very in depth, and it's hard for us to get them on a 5 minute video, you know.
Yeah, but it's also we have to point out there's not just one true way.
That's true.
There's a lot of way to do kink, yeah. But actually, that's not even true. There is only one way, the safe way to do it.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
How you do it, that's up to you. As long as it is safe,
consensual. You know what I mean?
right, and consensual.
Yeah, I mean, if yeah, I mean, is there an absolute roadmap? No, no, I would say no, but I
That would be awesome.
right. But I think you're right. I think that it definitely hits this. Here's the goal: safety, consensual. The old SSC model that a lot of people are familiar with, but they don't really understand. And we'll get into that in a whole nother video. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that is the core of the lifestyle. Um, safe and consensual. Um,
All right.
I think the education should be around those two. But remember, before you ever step into this lifestyle, be willing to ask questions, be willing to learn, and for the love of God, please do everybody a favor and do your self work.
Yes.
Please, for the love of God, do your self work. And, what do I mean when I say self work? I'll let you explain this.
There's a lot of things. Using the pillars on yourself, being honest with yourself, face your own issues. Um, Depending on the issues, you might cannot do it alone. You need on the submissive side, you probably might need a dominant to go through this, or a therapist, depending on the stuff you have experienced. But you have to do it actually. You cannot expect jumping into BDSM and everything will disappear. That's not possible.
Right.
Actually, it's quite the other way.
Yeah.
With BDSM, it might be come out pretty much harder and pretty much more painful.
Yeah. And it can cause, if you already have trauma, it can either cause those traumas to become worse, or it can generate new traumas with new trauma responses, all of that. So
Right.
to let our audience know, I'm a trauma dominant, which means I'm trained to deal in trauma. And Honey is learning to be, or she will be, learning to be a trauma dominant. So trauma is something that we specialize in, but we also understand the dangers of teaching that. So I'll take over communication. You spoke on honesty. I'll speak on communication. Communication is fundamental. It is the most important pillar, most important self work that you can do. Learning to be quiet in your own head, learning to allow the other person to finish speaking, learning active listening, learning being able to process that information that other person is telling you, being respectful to in communication with the other person. And don't get me wrong, I mean, some people have issues. I have hearing issues. Sometimes I always don't know when somebody's done talking. I have, whatnot. So I mean, there's all this communication issues, but at least be able to name them, you know, at least be able to name them, at least be able to, um, my damn chair squeaking. Um, at least be able to name them, at least be able to spot them out, at least be able to, um, know that stuff, and then work on that communication style that you have and improve where you need to. And that goes right back to honesty. You have to be able to say, "Hey, look, my communication sucks." So What's the other? Y'all let you take another pillar and then
And it's also a learning process. You have to learn to speak the other one person's language.
uh,
Um, and it's not just I'm talking German, you're talking English. That's not the point. But yeah, you see things different than I do. So there's a lot of explaining how do you see stuff before it gets to an issue.
right. And also everybody's communication style is different. So we have to learn how to, I have to, I remember when we first started, I had to learn how you understood things and how you processed that information and how you expressed yourself. But again, this is one of the things a lot of dominants don't set that foundation for. But it's fundamental. It really, really is. It's really, really fundamental to set that um, and set that out. Um, so, all right. Well, I think that's gonna wrap us up for today. I'm gonna let Honey say the end. Um, do you know what the end is, Honey? That we say it every. Okay, so I'll do it. So, as always, thanks for joining us. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, and we're working on Instagram. Um, Stay kinky, stay safe, and for the love of God, please educate yourselves in this lifestyle. It will save your life.